The HOA put up 28 condos on my property while I lay in a hospital bed, fighting to stay alive. They tore through the land, bulldozed the old oak where my wife's ashes were buried, then sealed it beneath concrete. When I confronted the HOA president, Barbara, she stared straight at me and said there was nothing I could do. It was already finished. What she didn't realize was that while she was busy building her little kingdom, I was quietly finalizing a demolition plan. Before we go any further, where are you watching this from? Drop it in the comments, because what comes next is justice in its purest form. Hey, if you believe homeowners should be able to stand up to corrupt HOAs, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss how this ends. That 5-acre parcel wasn't just land. It was the last remnant of the life my father left me back in 1983. He and I cleared it ourselves, just the two of us. Chainsaw, an old Ford tractor, and sweat pouring off our backs. I was 22, fresh home from my first tour, and he was trying to show me what it meant to build something that lasts. We left the big oak in the center on purpose. Dad always said a place isn't truly home until it has a landmark. Something you can see from far away and know you're almost there. He passed 10 years later, but every time I walked that land, I could still hear his voice reminding me to watch the roots, to respect the slope of the earth. When I lost Sarah, that oak was the only place that felt right. Strong, quiet, steady, just like her. We buried her ashes beneath its roots, and I promised her out loud I'd build a small cabin there someday. Nothing fancy. It's a quiet place for our daughter Emily and the grandkids. Somewhere her presence could still be felt without the world drowning it out. For years, that's all it was, a promise waiting to be kept. Fenced, peaceful, and mine. The only trouble ever came from the new HOA next door. Heritage Point. Its president was Barbara Kelso, the kind of woman with a polished smile that made you check your wallet after shaking her hand. She approached me more than once, calling my land underutilized green space. She liked to say the county surveys from the 90s were fuzzy, that maybe my parcel had never been properly separated from their common area. I showed her the deed clear, stamped, recorded in 1968. She barely reacted. Guest smiled and said, "Paperwork can be messy. Lawyers will look into it for the good of the community." I brushed it off. I had a deed. End of story. Then my heart betrayed me. 3 weeks flat on my back in a hospital bed, staring at ceiling tiles, listening to machines beep. Plenty of time to think about what mattered. Emily, the grandkids, the cabin I still hadn't built, the promise I'd made to Sarah. While I was thinking, Barbara was acting. I got out of the hospital on a Tuesday. Emily wanted me to stay with her, but I needed to go home, needed to see my land, needed to stand beneath that oak and breathe. I turned onto the dirt track leading to the parcel, and my stomach dropped. The fence was gone. Not knocked down, in its place was mud torn up by heavy equipment. And rising out of it were the frames of 28 buildings. 2-story condo skeletons wrapped in plastic, sitting on fresh concrete that was still curing. I stopped the truck and stared, my heart pounding for reasons that had nothing to do with my doctor's warnings. The oak was gone. In its place sat the corner foundation of what looked like Building C. They hadn't just cut it down, they'd ripped it out and poured concrete over its grave. Shock gave way to something colder, quieter, rage. I drove slowly toward the paved entrance they'd made. A bright sign stood there, private property, Heritage Point HOA, Phase 4 development. No trespassing. I stepped out of the truck, weak from the hospital, and walked past it anyway. Security guards stopped me. One, young and nervous. Other, older, retired cop type with cheap sunglasses. "Restricted area," he said. "HOA property." "This is my land," I replied. He didn't blink. Not according to our paperwork. His hand tapped the pepper spray on his belt. Standing there, locked out of my own legacy, one thought burned through my mind. They built all this in 3 weeks. They built fast, but I could tear it down faster.